got it for carrying on, which is in some ways kind of what the book of Ecclesiastes is about, is carrying on, even when you figure out that life kind of sucks. It's hard, and then it smacks you up the side of the head from a different direction. And that's a lot of what Solomon's trying to lay down for us in this. So we're continuing in the series called Beautiful Letdown, trying to really drive home for each and every one of us that life is empty without God. And that's what Solomon is telling us time and time again. And oftentimes he comes and he gives us these bleak statements, like vanity of vanities, all is vanity. He's got the old King James, or maybe breath of breaths, I've heard it all translated. The point is that he's saying life is pointless. And he keeps giving us these bleak statements, and he's trying to keep things, for the most part, from an earthly perspective. And so when he's giving us these bleak statements, he's not trying to say this is all there is and it sucks, so we're all better off dead. He's not trying to do that, but he's trying to say that, hey, if this is all you got, your life's empty. And that's hard. It's a hard pill for all of us as well. Even inside the church. I don't care if you've been raised inside the church. You were saved when you were 1 year old. I don't care. It doesn't matter. We can come in with the best preachers and teachers and Sunday school people, and we can absorb every week we come in, 2, 3, 4 times a week, maybe even. We're just taking it in, and we can still latch on to what the world is trying to feed us. That this is all there is, and this is what you need to make goals about, and this is what you need to drive for, and these are everything. If that's what we buy into, then we're basically taking the devil is selling. And in church, we of all people have no excuse to buy into it, but we do. And so we come to that point in life where, whether it happens when we're like a teenager, or maybe it's just like somewhere in the 20s, or maybe it's 30s, or maybe it's midlife crisis territory for you. But at some point in time, all of us come to the realization that what life has to offer is meaningless. That there's no quality to it. It's kind of like, it's almost like this world is two-dimensional and there's no depth. And so it's what we see on a screen. There's just nothing behind it. And so we realize that, and the question comes from that point, what's next? What then? And a lot of people come to the same conclusions that Solomon's trying to hand out here, from the worldly perspective, that, hey, if this is all there is, well, then you might as well live it up. Enjoy it while it lasts, because it'll go away. We all die, and you might as well enjoy life while you can. And there's truth in that, because the things that we're given, whether it's money or family, or whether it's time, or whether it's abilities, or whatever, he's not saying we shouldn't throw it all away. And that's kind of what the church has understood to say. And maybe you even heard it at some point in time, that's like money's evil, and you spending your time on all these hobbies that you like, that's a waste of time. You really need to spend your time on eternal purposes and God's mission and everything else, and it's all about Him. And there's truth in that, but there's also kind of missing the point. That we kind of come to this conclusion that, okay, it's either I chase after God and everything He has to offer, or I chase after the world and everything it has to offer. And the fact is that we can chase after God, and we still have to do it through this world. And so, guess what? Living life, you get experiences that you're allowed to enjoy. You get stuff that you're allowed to appreciate. We've got a boatload of good food down below us, and I'm not going to tell you, go down there and just treat it like it's just fuel, okay, for your body. And it's fuel for your body, but dang it, it's good fuel. So this is part of this is the big thing that Solomon is trying to drive home for us, is that life is full of things and enjoy them, but remember that there's more. And it's the more that makes that worthwhile. See, again, the church has tried to drive home this message that it's either or. And the fact is that in a lot of ways, it's both. God is what brings this two-dimensional world into three dimensions. You don't have to necessarily leave everything behind and go to Timbuktu and become a missionary. If that's what God tells you to do it. But, you can be a missionary in a post office. You can be a good Christian at APS. You can be a good Christian wherever God puts you. And the blessings he pours out on us, he wants us to enjoy. They're gifts from God. We see this time and time again. We see in the book of James, God tells us every good and perfect gift comes from the Father of lights. He is a good Father, and he knows how to give good gifts. And he wants us to enjoy them. And oftentimes the churches try to tell us that those things are meaningless, and so we should just set those aside and chase after God. And yes, we should chase after God, but he's what gives those things meaning. He's what gives things an eternal aspect that we can't get in our own. Suddenly that, maybe the new phone you got is a great gadget, and maybe all you intended to do was send some text messages out, make some phone calls, and play games on it. I don't know. But suddenly it becomes a tool as well. I mean, you can check emails and send that out. Yeah, but where are you sending that to? What are you sending out? Messages we can send through email can be, hey, I'll be there on Friday, or it can be, hey, I know that I haven't heard from you in a while. How are you doing? What's going on in your life? This is what God's been doing in my life, and I just want to share that with you. And use these things. And so it becomes three-dimensional. That's a lot of what he's trying to tell us. And I love that what we've been going through is this idea of, he's been talking a lot about money lately, and the pointlessness of chasing after money. Basically just saying, hey, you can build up lots of money, because that's certainly what Solomon did. He started off filthy, stinking rich, and he made himself at the beginning look poor compared to how he was at the end. He got the money. He got the property. He got all that. He chased it. He got it. And he's saying at the end of your life, everything you built up, all that money that you got in your savings account, pass it on to somebody. Here in this world, we tend to, in America, 21st century, we tend to pass that on to family. Maybe not, the government takes a chunk of it the way it is. So, nice big chunk of it these days. But regardless, we're trying to pass that on to somebody because we want to make their life a little bit better. And so, but we don't know what's going to be done with that. If I built up a multi-million-dollar empire and I left it divided among my 3 kids, I don't know what they're going to do. In a lot of ways, if I did that, if I built up a financial empire worth $30 million and I was able to leave each of my boys $10 million each. How many times have you heard about somebody who won the lottery and like 5 or maybe 10 years later they're broke? It's a common story. And it happens all the time with inheritances too, because you just don't know. Elijah may invest it wisely and build a financial empire that's even bigger than what I left for all my boys. And Caleb may blow it all on video games. You can't guarantee anything. And so that's what he's been kind of driving home, is that, if you get attached to money, you kind of lost it. because you don't get to keep it. There's, as the old saying goes, there's no hearses that tow a U-Haul. I didn't quite say that right, but at any rate, you get the idea. We don't take it with us. And in Ecclesiastes chapter 6, we start to see he's fleshing some of this out a little bit and trying to get us to help us understand. And it's so funny. There's part of me that really just hates preaching when it comes to holidays, because I feel like, whether it's Mother's Day, Father's Day, Christmas, Easter, whatever, it feels like I've got to sidetrack away from what it is I've been doing to deal with this holiday thing and its meaning in our lives. And so there's part of me that resents doing things like that. It's silly, I know, but I never claimed to be fully rational. But at any rate, so along comes Thanksgiving. Part of me's like, well, maybe I need to do a Thanksgiving message. And, it's an important idea. And then part of me's like, well, no, let's just carry on. And then I'll come to this in Ecclesiastes chapter 6. And guess what one of the main things in this chapter is? Being thankful. So let's kind of dig in. All right. Ecclesiastes chapter 6. Let's go ahead and read this. It says, there is another serious tragedy I have seen under the sun, and it weighs heavily on humanity. God gives some people great wealth and honor and everything they could ever want. Then he doesn't give them a chance to enjoy these. They die, someone else, even a stranger, ends up enjoying their wealth. This is meaningless, a sickening tragedy. A man might have 100 children and live to be very old, but if he finds no satisfaction in life and doesn't even get it very old, it would have been better for him to be born dead. His birth would have been meaningless, and he would have ended in darkness. He wouldn't even have had a name, and he would never have seen the sun or known of its existence. Yet he would have had more peace than growing up in to be an unhappy man. He might live 1,000 years twice over, but still find no contentment. And since he must die like everyone else, well, what's the use? All people spend their lives scratching for food, but they never seem to have enough. So are wise people really better off than fools? Do poor people gain anything by being wise and knowing how to act in front of others? Enjoy what you have rather than desiring what you don't have. Just dreaming about nice things is meaningless, like chasing the wind. Everything has already been decided. It was known long ago what each person would be, so there's no use arguing with God about your destiny. The more words you speak, the less they mean. So good are they. In the few days of our meaningless lives, who knows how our days can best be spent? Our lives are like the shadow. Who can tell what will happen on this earth after? Yeah, I know. That's a nice upbeat message. We all walk away feeling encouraged after reading that, right?
Like a top notch you can motivation speak.
Exactly. It's like, Solomon, do you know how to do this motivational thing at all? Because I'm not getting it.
Makes you think.
It does. And that's what he's trying to do. Again, a lot of what he's trying to say, he's trying to pull it from the perspective of someone who doesn't know God, who thinks that this is all that there is. And so he's trying to say, from that perspective, this is all pointless. He keeps harping on it, though. He wants us to all really understand the pointlessness of what this life has to offer without God. It doesn't. It almost comes to the point, it's like you're born, you live, life sucks, and then you die. And just like, it'd be better off if I'd never been born. It would have been easier on me, so that's for sure. And so it's easy to get lost in that. And if you think that this is all there is, that this life is it, then you would be wrong. But let's dig in a little deeper, because that's not really what he's trying to lay down. I think there's probably a little sarcasm in here. And Michael said there's deeper meaning. So let's look at the first couple verses in chapter 6. It says, there's another serious tragedy I've seen under the sun, and it weighs heavily on humanity. God gives some people great wealth and honor and everything they could ever want. Then he doesn't give them a chance to enjoy these things. They die, and someone else, even a stranger, ends up enjoying their wealth. This is meaningless, sickening tragedy. And so the idea being here that God gives somebody something, but they can't enjoy what God's given. Now, I understand the statement right there. He's saying this person doesn't get a chance. But I mean, seriously, over the course of a lifetime, who hasn't had the chance to enjoy what they've been given? It doesn't happen. We all have those opportunities every single day. And admittedly, there's some days we have off and we can take the boat to the lake or whatever it is you enjoy doing, and we can really enjoy those things more fully. And then there's days where we got to go to work and we got to work hard. But maybe you can enjoy your air conditioning, not to drive to work. In Texas, that's a thing. And so we need to remember that these things that God has given, he's given us an opportunity every single day to enjoy some facet of it. Maybe it's just waking up next to your husband or wife. Maybe it's knowing that your kids love you, even if they didn't give you a phone call today. Whatever it is, these are things that God has given us. And when we do have the opportunities and the family gets together and we can really enjoy, I mean, that's what so many people love about Thanksgiving and Christmas time is the chance to actually get together with as much family as we can. Because we love these people. We enjoy being around them. And so we want to get that back and enjoy them again. And so it's interesting to me that he goes about and he says basically, hey, God gives these people this wealth and honor, and then they die, and someone else ends up enjoying their wealth. It's interesting because if you just back up just a few verses into chapter 5, what we covered last week, he says, even so, I notice one thing at least that is good. It's good for people to eat, drink, and enjoy their work under the sun during the short life God has given them, and to accept their lot in life. And it's a good thing to receive wealth from God and good health to enjoy it. To enjoy your work and accept your lot in life, this is indeed a gift from God. God keeps such people so busy enjoying life that they take no time to brood over the past. Now, if you take that little chart, where he's saying enjoy it, whatever it is God gives you, enjoy it, and then you step right into the next verse, you can kind of sense some of the sarcasm. He's stepping in and saying, like, this person hasn't had a chance to enjoy their life. Well, if they haven't had a chance, whose fault is that? Is that God's fault? Or theirs? Because they chose every day to go push for more. God's trying to tell us, hey, I'm giving you blessings. Enjoy them. Verse 3 says, a man might have 100 children and live to be very old, but if he finds no satisfaction in life and doesn't even get a decent burial, it would have been better for him to be born dead. His birth would have been meaningless, and he would have ended in darkness. He wouldn't have even had a name, and he would never have seen the sun or known of its existence. Yet he would have had more peace than in growing up and to be an unhappy man. He might live 1,000 years twice over, but still not find contentment. And since he must die like everyone else, what's the use? And so a big part of what he's trying to say here is that he can get, first couple verses, that is about money. He can get all the money in the world, basically. And you could squander it, you can not appreciate it. And he can give you such a big family, you got 100 kids, you love every single one of them, and you cannot enjoy them. And so a lot of what he's trying to talk about here is this attitude of just being thankful for what he's given us, thankful for the people he's given us in our lives. That's, I think, what he's really trying to drive at in chapter 6. That, we might have 100 children, we might have one, How many ever it is you get, enjoy it. Give them a call, say hi. it's on each of us to appreciate the family that we've got. You got your parents around still. Give them a call, drop by, whatever, Take that time to enjoy and appreciate. It's part of this attitude that we need to have of being thankful. So let's do that. Let's walk in and be thankful for what God has given us. If it's family, then we enjoy the family. But we don't need to live a life that is full of ungratitude, where we basically end up with the conclusion that, hey, I'd be better off if I knew. Because if you live a life that doesn't have any gratitude, that's where you're going to be. That's the conclusion you're going to reach in life. Because what's the point if you're not thankful for what God has placed around you? Whether it's stuff, whether it's people, whatever. It doesn't matter. If we're not grateful, what's the point of even going through it? Verse 7. All people spend their lives scratching for food, but they never seem to have enough. So are wise people really better off than fools? Do poor people gain anything by being wise and knowing how to act? Enjoy what you have rather than desiring what you don't have. Just dreaming about nice things is meaningless, like chasing the wind. And he comes in, and he basically is trying to tell us, I think Charlie Brown would be proud of this message right here. All people spend their lives scratching for food, but they never have enough. And it's not so much the food issue that he's bringing to question, it's this idea of never enough. Consumer culture. There's never been a culture that's been more consumeristic than ours. We have new stuff all the time. Car dealers try to tell you need a new car every 2 years. Phone dealers tell you the same thing. Video games, it's like, oh, hey, this was nice for about 100 hours, and then you need to find something new. And if you like fishing, well, then, hey, guess what? We got a new gadget you should come get. We got a sonar thing. You can detect where the fish are. You can see what the bottom of the lake looks like, and we need it. We need this new bass boat, right? The old one, well, it gets the job done, but it'd be so much more comfortable than this one, right? Whatever. I mean, this idea that we keep chasing after new stuff, new things. He's saying, don't just be a consumer. Enjoy what you have, because that's what wisdom does. Wisdom teaches us to enjoy what we have. See which part is it? Pull it up, because like I said, usually when I do my study, I do it in a different version than the NLT that I preach in. And so we'll kind of bring out a phrase here. Verse 9. So the NLT says, enjoy what you have rather than desiring what you didn't have. And I just like the way the NAS says it. And it says it like this. What the eyes see is better than what the soul desires.
I was reading ESPN, I can't figure it out.
But it really is, that's what it's saying. What you have, what you can see around you, what you have in your home is better than the goals you have. It's not saying don't have goals, but it's saying if you can't enjoy what you have, what's the point in getting more? Because guess what? That just means there's more to be not grateful. Right? Because usually what happens when we achieve a goal, we're like, that was great. What's next? We just move on. We create another goal. We get, to the next tax bracket. We get the new car or whatever it is that we go after. And so he's trying to tell us, hey, better is the stuff you can see than the stuff that you have, the people that are around you, than the goals that you have for something better, something more. That's what he wants us to walk into, is that what we have is better than what we don't have, or that we want to have. So enjoy it. Okay? Let's take a look at verse 10. Everything has already been decided. It was known long ago what each person would be, so there's no use arguing with God about your destiny. And I don't think it's trying to talk so much about fatalism. It's just something that does creep its way into the church, and certainly a lot of people believe in fate. The point is that God designed us. He's the one that made us. And remember that if he were really about fate, all about not giving us a choice in what our life had in store for us, we would still be where he put us in the first place, in the Garden of Eden. Perfect. Life is good. If that was fate, and his fate was, and his perfect will was what mattered, we would still be there, walking around naked. And if we're hungry, going grabbing an apple from a tree, you know, it would be. And this mess that we live in wouldn't be like it is. And I think that's what he's trying to get at, more than saying that our fate has been decided. It's not. Basically saying that, hey, you know, God designed us to be and made us to be in the garden with him. And so we need to have simple enjoyment of everything that we have. And we can decide that God has decided our fate and be resigned about it, and we can argue with God. That's what he's talking about there at the end. So there's no use in arguing with God about your destiny. It's the same sort of thing. God is in control. We're going to trust that he's going to bring us to good places, even if it's not necessarily our definition of good. Let's face it, we decide that good is defined as easy, peaceful, rich in some sense of that term, whether it's talking about money or rich relationships or rich chocolate. I don't care whatever it is you're talking about. But the point is that we have this definition, and it really boils down to easy, convenient, comfortable. And God's definition of good is not necessarily having much to do with that. Matter of fact, there's not a lot that God calls us to do this. Because he knows that we thrive in challenges. That's where we grow. That's where we become something better than what we were. Is when life is hard, we step up. And yes, we get knocked down sometimes. But we learn from those things. Now, I've told my boys before, you know, life's going to have failure. Okay, fail forward. Don't let it knock you backwards. Instead, have a plan for when you fail, and get up and try something, maybe tweak this or try something altogether different. I don't care, but we get up and we move forward. It's the same sort of thing, you know. This is what I think he's talking about. Look at verse 11. The more words you speak, the less they mean what we are. And basically saying we can talk to God. We can talk back to God. I think God's big enough boy. I think he can handle our temper tantrums when we go to prayer. So we can talk back to God, absolutely. But just bear in mind that it's his universe. He made it, and it works according to his rules. Now, admittedly, we've kind of broken things, and so there's been some new rules that have kind of formed up. But it's kind of like you gotta say a basketball team. Okay, you guys know, everyone knows the rules of basketball pretty much. You know, you gotta dribble, you gotta shoot, score, win, all that. It's there, but there are things that are inside of a team that there's a style to play. So whether it's basketball or football or whatever sport it is you're wanting to think of, there's different ways, different tactics, and depending on the strength of the team and the culture of a team, they play differently. I remember, pretty sure it's back in 1992, the Olympics finally opened up basketball to let professionals play for them. And so they got what they called the Dream Team. Michael Jordan was heading them up, Charles Barkley. There were some others on there, and it was a great team. We cleaned up in the Olympics that year. The next time the Olympics rolled around, it was a slightly different group. I remember someone pointed out that team in '96 played really differently than the team in '92. '92, they were so good they just dominated. They played clean, and they played good. Team in '96, they weren't afraid to throw some elbows. This is just different culture. They played different. And I think that's a little bit of what he's trying to say here in this, is that we can come back, we can speak to God about whatever, but it's his universe, it's his rules. And he made us to be in a relationship with him, to enjoy him forever. I love, got me in Hill in my head, that's not right. John, but he's taken, no. Good guess, but no. This author has taken basically what is called the Westminster Shorter Catechism. Okay, really easy. I never tried, but I ended up memorizing it anyway. Is that we the idea of oh gosh, no, I lost it in that. Just I had to say I memorized it, didn't I? I had to say it. Chief end of man is to glorify God and enjoy him. It's a very short piece of theology that tells us about our purpose. And this guy, it's really old, but this guy took that and he basically changed it just a little bit, but in a significant way. So chief end of man is to glorify God by enjoying him. Correct. Stop and think about that. That changes how we do things. It's an important change because our end doesn't just become to glorify God, and so we sing songs and do things like this. No, it's like our goal is to enjoy God, and that glorifies Him. That's what it was supposed to be like all along. Is that we were supposed to be in the garden with Him, walking with Him in the cool of the day, and it was supposed to be this beautiful relationship. And that's what He made for us for. We were supposed to be in there. And the simple fact is that we're not going to find fulfillment outside of a relationship with Him. Again, if without God, all we have is this two-dimensional world, stuff, and with relationships that come and go, regardless of why they come and go. I was at a funeral yesterday, and everything in that funeral pointed to eternity. Because this person was a believer. And so, even though I've never met him, at some point in time, I have every reason to think that in heaven, when I've been there for who knows how long, I'm going to get to meet him and I'm going to get to know him. Mm-hmm. That's what we were made for. We were made for eternity. That's what God designed. And everything that Ecclesiastes just tries to get us to feel the futility of was never the design. It was never God's purpose for us. We are trying to make the best of a broken world. And big thing of what Solomon's telling us is that without God, the best we got is pointless. It's worthless, and it's just temporary. He's trying to get us to feel that futility so deeply that we turn to God. Let's look at verse 12. In the few days of our meaningless lives, who knows how our days are best spent? Our lives are like a shadow. Who can tell what will happen on this earth after we're gone? And if you really legitimately ask these questions and pray with the answer, it's just in a few days of our meaningless lives, who knows how deeply our days can best be spent? Well, who knows? God knows. He knows how we can spend life and not just get a meal, but we can turn a meal into a family gathering and speak life into each other and pass on wisdom that our parents taught us to pass that on to our kids. And they can have a better life maybe because of that wisdom. We can have laughter that we can talk about for years to come and into eternity. And all that just because some food. And so when he asks, who knows how days must be spent. Well, he's trying to tell us there's an answer to these things. These questions have meaningful answers. Yes, our lives are like a shadow. I mean, we're told time and time again in the Bible that life is short. Eternity is forever. Who can tell what will happen on us? None of us can tell the future. God gives us glimpses every once in a while, but after we're dead and gone, we have zero control. And any influence we have is passive. It's the stuff we've already said that might have a bearing on things. So we can't do anything after we're gone to manipulate things in the future. Our game is over. There's more. And that's what he's trying to tell us time and time again, is that there's more than just what we can see, touch, and feel. One of the things I love about God is that when he calls us to step out of a life of futility, he doesn't necessarily say, okay, now go to Timbuktu and be a missionary. He's trying to tell us your life can become meaningful as it is. You don't have to change your job. No, you can continue in that, hopefully making some good money or whatever it is, enjoying the labor. But suddenly, God is trying to tell us, hey, the place you work, the people you interact with, they're eternal beings too. You can pour life into them. You can give them a taste of Jesus, a glimpse of heaven in your work relationships every day. The stuff you have, well, it can become tools. The hobbies you have, they can become ways to interact with people for eternity. Suddenly it's not just a fishing trip. You can grab a buddy, go, and you guys can talk about eternity for hours on the lake. It can be beautiful. God's not asking us to change our whole life around. He's asking us to change how we do life. If you get what I'm trying to say, it doesn't have to be different in the things you're doing. It just changes the how and why. And that's what takes things from a two-dimensional world into a three-dimensional. God brings greater dimensions to everything. And that's a big part of what Solomon's trying to tell us. So let's latch on to that. Let's be grateful for the things that God has given us. Let's enjoy it. Let's enjoy the people we have in our lives, whether we have 100 kids, like Solomon said in that chapter, or whether we don't have any kids. It doesn't matter. Either way, we can enjoy the people in our lives. Let's be grateful for what God has given us. And let's show our gratitude by bringing the eternal life that God has given us into everything we say and everything we do. That's what he's trying to tell us. There's more. Let's latch on to that. All right, let's pray. Lord God, I come to you and I'm just so grateful for the things that you've given us. They are small blessings, every single one of them. Whether it's a phone, whether it's shoes, shirt on my back, whatever it is, it's all gifts from you. Food we eat, I thank you for that. Asking that you would just help us to breathe eternity into everything. Into the people that we work with, the people we live with, people we run into randomly. Help us to see things from your perspective. Help our hearts be truly grateful for everything, most especially for you. Because everything else can be better. Just thankful. You've changed everything. I'm so grateful. So work in our hearts, whatever it takes in order to change, so that this is our attitude. Help us to grab onto it. Help us to do it. Because there's more. I really can't. He needs your help to do it every step of the way. So we're asking humbly for your help. Change our hearts. We ask this in the name of Jesus. Amen.